Hello, hello. I recently started and finished reading Philip K. Dick's The Crack in Space. Now, this is one of his earlier novels, and it's quite short. That's why I said I started and finished it recently, because it's only 190 pages, and the pages are like not super big, and it's not a very hard read either, so it's pretty easy to blast through it in a couple days. I enjoyed it. It was good. I kind of know what I'm getting myself into when I start a Philip Dick book, because a lot of them have the same elements, right? You have like a ton of characters, usually a strong male lead. He's going to end up with a hot girl at some point. Things are going to get mixed up and they're going to get resolved by the end. And there's going to be some funky gadgets. So, I don't know. I guess a lot of his stories are similar in that way, at least the ones I've read. But of course, the gadgets and the plot twist is always different. So it's good to read. I enjoy them. So in this particular book, the plot is kind of complex. I'll probably mess up at some point, but I'll try to explain it to you. So yeah, the basis is that we live. I mean, it doesn't explicitly mention the year, but the protagonists live in a world that is very similar to ours, perhaps a few hundred years in the future. It is overpopulated. That is a big theme throughout the book. Although, even though they're living in the future, they do not have some of the social progressions that we've made. They're maybe stuck in like 1940s sort of race theory, I guess. So there's a very strict division between coals, which is the shortened nickname for colored, and Cox, which is a very unfortunate shortening of Caucasian. So that's kind of a big division. It's taking place in the US. So this is kind of like, I don't know my US history very good. This is like pre-civil rights movement, I guess, kind of. Anyways, one of the main characters' name is Briskin. Is it John? Jim Briskin. And he is the Cole, so African-American, running for president. And he's up against Bill Schwartz, which is the incumbent white president. And race does play like a plot role, but I don't think he's really exploring race that much as like a theme in the book. It just kind of is like a plot device. When did Philip Dick write again? This book was published, let's see at the beginning. This book was published 1966, okay? So Philip Dick, I think, by some people, he's been accused as being a bit racist in his depictions of people. I can't speak for his entire corpus, but in this book in particular, I think he's actually quite progressive in his race politics. He says several times that, especially near the end, where the characters will realize that there's not really much difference between people of different races. So obviously he is. See if I can find it here. It's near the end. I swear I just read it. So yeah, it's fairly progressive, actually, perspective from Philip Dick. Well, I'm not going to be able to find it, and I'm going to be sitting here for like 5 minutes, and I'm going to waste your time. Anyways, you take my word for it. But this world that they're living in, they kind of have three new technologies that we don't have. Okay, first is they have this ability to put things in orbit really easily. So they have some sort of like no regulations, like international waters type satellite. That's like a big satellite that orbits the Earth, and it's like what's the tactful word to use? It's called the Golden Door, and it's sort of like red light district. It's a whorehouse basically. And you can just take a flight cab up there. It's like very cheap. So that's one technology they have new. The second technology they have new is these things called Jiffy Scuttlers, and they're like rapid teleportation devices, kind of. And one of them malfunctions, and that's sort of what provides like the starting conflict of the plot. And then the last technology they have that we don't have. Oh man, I'm forgetting what it is now. Shoot, it'll come to me later, don't worry. Anyways, so the main problem in The Crack in Space is that, well, there's a crack in space, as the title suggests. One of the Jiffy Scuttlers malfunctions, and there's a rent in the wall, and it connects them to another universe. And they're not really too sure what this universe is all about. And now spoilers ahead, okay, if you're going to read this, this is kind of a spoiler. They figure out actually that it's not another star system somewhere else in the world. It's actually a parallel universe to Earth. And apparently in all the other parallel universes, I don't know how you say it, Pecky? Anyways, these like early forms of human, like not Cro-Magnon, but like further back, this type of like humanoid, this other type of human early in evolution, like overtook Homo sapiens, and so the timeline that they're in the book is like the only timeline that like Homo sapiens won the evolutionary war against these other type of men. I should know what it has a P and a K in it. Peak. Oh man, now I can't find it. Of course. Yeah, Peaks. P-E-K-E-S. Anyways, yeah. So there's this presidential election. There's an overpopulation problem. Yes, that's a third technology. Thank you, I forgot. It's cryonics. The ability to freeze people and then reanimate them later. So they have a really bad overpopulation problem, and 100 million people are stuck in these cryonic chambers because there's like no work for them. It's bad living conditions, so they say, hey, just wake me up whenever there's work. And so they freeze 100 million people. So the government is in this really tough position, right? Because more and more people are always being added to this cryonic chamber warehouse or warehouses, and the upkeep costs a lot of money. And without more jobs and without more houses and stuff, they really have nowhere to put people that are having babies. So they're in this tough spot, right? So the government wants to like find another planet or like re-inhabit, or what do they call it? Planet wedding, when you like change the atmosphere to make it livable for humans. They tried it with Mars. A few people live there, but it's not really habitable. It's very hostile to life. So they're really hoping to like explore the solar system and like find a new planet. Now when this Jiffy scuttler malfunctions and the rent in the tube walls opened to this other parallel universe, it's Earth with these peak people living there. They only have like a few million people living on there, so they're like, holy crap, like all of North America is untouched. Like we can take all these people that are in the cryonic chambers, and we can, which are called bibs. I know it's an acronym or like a shortened version of something. I don't know what it means. Maybe you guys can figure it out. Bibs. Anyways, they're gonna take all these people, reanimate them, like wake them up, and push them across into this like new parallel universe. So then they can solve the overpopulation problem, and then that way Jim will be able to win the election, right? Because he's promising to solve the overpopulation problem. But then things get all messy, and now here's where the plot kind of gets complicated. So they're not sure what sort of technology these like early humans have. They created this like weird like ice piston glider that they were able to recover from their planet. They're like, okay, like they took down our satellite, like they must have some sort of like new technology. They take one of the early people back to Earth, and they're like trying to like talk to it with a linguistics device, and they're not really getting much out of him. And on the Golden Globes or Golden Door satellite, like the whorehouse that circulates the Earth, the owner of that place, like the main pimp, I guess, is like some sort of mutant where he has one head and attached to two bodies. His name is George Walt. One is George, one's Walt. Very creative there by Philip Dick. Anyways, at some point in their negotiations, because he doesn't want his satellite to get shut down, it's his business, but Jim is very old-fashioned in his morals, right? And so he wants the place shut down. So obviously, if Jim is running for president, they have to like do some diplomacy to figure out what's going to happen with that place. And so at some point during that negotiation, they figure out that he's actually not a mutant, or he was, and the body part like died or something, so there's only like one body left and the rest of it's like artificial. So there's like some sort of shady like foreshadowing, like who is this George Walt guy, what is he up to, or guys I should say. They're two people. And then in order for them to ship all of the bibs, all of the cryonic preserved people into the into the new parallel universe to save the overpopulation crisis, they need to make the hole bigger because only one person can fit at a time. So like, okay, let's disconnect the power source, we'll quadruple the power, and that'll quadruple the hole. That's the engineer's logic. They try it, but it doesn't put them back in the same time period. It puts them 100 years in the future. The problem is that George Walt snuck through the first time, stayed there the 100 years, taught the new people everything about the technology, and then brought like power, and now is keeping that rent open 100 years into the future. So they can't close it. And now all the people are inhabiting their Earth instead of the other way around. So they're all coming into Earth, and they have all of this crazy technology where they can like teleport and like read people's minds and like instantly vaporize people or something like that, like instantly kill them. So they're just like, it's like complete reverse colonization, right? Where the aliens are coming to Earth. Well, not really aliens, I guess, but like kind of aliens. And so no one really knows what's going on. And it turns out the blacks and the whites, like the racial tension on Earth is resolved because they see that the difference is very slight compared to these alien people. So they kind of band together in that way. And then, what happens next? Jim Briskin, the colored presidential nominee, goes up to the Golden Globe because, or the Golden Globe, I keep saying that. Isn't that like a awards thing on in real life? No, the Golden Door satellite. He goes up there because George Walt came back with their Peck people leader. And now they're like threatening to like to invade Earth, as they're already doing, if they don't like reach some sort of demands. And I think that George Walt wants control over the U.S. Basically, he wants political power to make more money, essentially. And then Briskin goes up there, and the way that George Walt had convinced the Peck people that he was like should be in charge is that he claimed he was a god, and they had like their own mythology, and because of his two bodies they like thought he was a god, and of course he had like flying technology and stuff, so they just listened to him and they thought he was like a god. That Jim Briskin, he offers them, the Peck people, the Smithsonian, like the museum with all the artifacts, and then he rips George Walt's arm off, and so then the Peck leader is like, oh, I guess you're not a god, you guys just lie all the time, that's totally against our like ethics, we don't want to do any business with you, and they all just leave. And so Jim kind of saves the day by like exposing George Walt as a fraud, and then all the people, the Peck people, that are just like, we don't want to deal with you because you're all liars, so they all just leave. But then at the end, Jim wins the election, and one of the Peck people that they originally brought back is still in their universe, and he's kind of hanging out with them. And then the story just ends, right? There's no solution to the overpopulation problem. There's no like suggestion that they'll able to find like another planet to inhabit. So a lot of things are left like kind of unresolved, which I notice a lot of writers do that. A lot of good writers leave things unresolved. Anyways, I don't think this book has a sequel, so that's kind of it. But yeah, anyways, they have this weird, the whole book is just about them having this weird interaction with this other world. Yeah, very interesting. Anyways, Crack in Space. Not sure this is my favorite Philip Dick novel that I've read, but it was good. Now I have his other stuff on the wall here, and I've read a few of his works, right? So I've read Divine Invasion. That was before I knew that it was part of a trilogy, which I will reread it eventually, just because I want to read that Valis trilogy in order. For some reason, also the first book in that trilogy, Valis, is very hard to find. I did find, I do have a copy, but it almost seems like conspiracy. It's like suppressed by the mainstream press. I don't know, but it's just a conspiracy. So I'm excited to read that one. So I have read Divine Invasion. I read, obviously, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the novel that inspired Blade Runner, so I've read that one. I've read The World Jones Made, Solar Lottery, and Eye in the Sky, and The Man in the High Castle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've read 7 of his novels. And Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, that one's really good. And oh man, I forget The World Jones Made. I don't know. I think the rest of them are kind of a tie, to be honest. I haven't been like, actually no, Divine Invasion was really good. But all his earlier works, and Man in the High Castle, honestly I wasn't super impressed. It was good, but like, meh. Honestly, I like Crack in Space more. Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading through his stuff, but I think maybe his later works he kind of matured, but we'll see. I have a lot of his stuff, so Anyways, now I'm just yapping. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back soon with more book reviews / summaries. See ya.